All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I am Franklin Genao. Thank you for being with me. And, it is December 31st as I record this video. And while I was thinking, what can I bring about or how can I end the year, I figured, why don't I just speak really briefly about how my 2024 year went concerning filmmaking. And that's what we're here to talk about. So, a quick background. I had walked away from filmmaking in 2022, the beginning of 2022, January. My father had passed away in December 2021. That was something I was not expecting. My father died very young. He was 51 years old when he died. And I just didn't have the energy to focus and things like that. I was working on a film called Broken for a friend of mine and also a client. I couldn't finish that film to its full capacity, how I had envisioned it, because my father's condition was getting worse and, tragedy happened. At the time also, it was a bit of a sweet and sour kind of moment. My father had just passed away, and then I had met this girl who I had a relationship with. And to make long story short, we got engaged later on. So it was kind of a smooth and sour transition. My father had passed away. I had some pain in me. And then that following year, 2022, I met this girl. Things were going well. I got engaged, and then that also ended. And I'm not going to speak about the reason why it ended, but I had to end it. I had to be the man and end it because she simply wanted me to do something that I told her from the very beginning that I wasn't going to do. And she agreed to it, and then she tried to switch it around to me when we were engaged. And I wasn't having that. So that opened up another chain of pain and suffering. I really loved this girl, and it was bad. So I had walked away from filmmaking for 2 years, and I had even sold all of my equipment. And the reason I'm telling you that is because it wasn't until this year in 2024 that I came back to filmmaking. And it was March, if I'm not mistaken, that I started filming my first film, which is called Bonds of Grief. I didn't direct that one. Zay directed that one, but I did the sound, the cinematography, I did the editing.
I think I'm gonna write
and so it was
about your mom.
interesting because that film deals with grief, losses, and I had just lost my father. I had lost this relationship that I was so invested and committed to. And then 2 years later to come back, and my first film that I'm going to work in is about grief and loss. It's interesting how God just puts everything together. But that's another topic, That's divine providence. And like I promised you guys, this channel is not about preaching or anything of that. I have a separate channel for that. But this year, it was really a smooth ride. I had to buy my equipment back. I had sold all of the equipment I had. I sold all my microphones. I sold my cameras, my lenses, my recorders. After breaking up with that relationship, I wasn't in a good spot mentally. And so when I started to come back, which I honestly thought I wasn't going to come back to filmmaking, I started buying a camera. In fact, I bought this camera that I'm recording on right now, which is the Lumix S5. I bought that. I bought the 50 millimeter lens with it. I felt so naked, or disarmed, for lack of a better word, without ever owning a camera. I've always owned cameras. I've always owned some form of film equipment. So having sold everything, I felt weird. And so I started missing my armory. I started missing my sword, my shield, my helmet, and so forth. And I bought the Lumix S5. I wanted to test it because it was a camera I never owned before, so I wanted to test its limitation. I started talking with Zay. I asked him if I can use him as a test subject just so I can test the skin tones on this camera and so forth. And he was just in the transition of producing Bonds of Grief. And so when he saw that I was kind of back in town, he offered me if I wanted to hop on and direct and everything. And I told him I wasn't ready to direct. I've been away for 2 years. And I told him I'd do everything and so forth. Bonds of Grief was a very smooth ride. We started filming in March. I believe it was around March 15 or the 21st, around there. And we wrapped up filming by April. And in May, we actually had a theater premiere that Zay rented out, a local theater. I had to learn how to do a DCP for the first time, which was interesting. And Bonds of Grief, from a indie filmmaking point of view, was a success. I got to meet people I didn't know before. It was a good thing. Then in the summer, I also worked on a short for Zay again,
get through it.
called
You know
Secrets.
that, right? Like, oh, we could fix
And
this.
again, there I
Don't you
met
understand that?
2 new people. I met Mauro
Sometimes
and I met
I think the best
Dylan.
thing to do is
And
just
that was
take
also
a step back
a smooth ride.
and realize what you need
And
figure things out on
fast
your own.
forward to the end of the year, we filmed the Holiday Shuffle. And this I directed, I did the cinematography, I did the sound, I did the editing, I acted in it. And this was filmed in 2 weeks, and it came out, well, I had it finished like a week and a half later. Everything was edited, but it came out on December 27. Again, I've met people I didn't meet before. The long story short, 2024 filmmaking wise was a very good year for me, and I have a good feeling, and I don't like to use that word feeling lightly, but I have a good conviction, a good feeling that 2025 is going to be better. I'm also working on my projects that I'm writing, but I do want to produce a feature 90 minutes or above, so that's in the works. But I might be working for other people, most likely, while I work on my projects. But it's interesting how things turned out. And Zay and I sometimes will have these discussions where it's like, imagine had I never walked away from filmmaking, what could have been done in those 2 years, and so forth. And you know, just reflecting on these things, man. 2024, new projects completed, finished. It's out there in the world. I'm going to put links on the bottom of this video where you can see Bonds of Grief, where you can see Secrets, where you can see the Holiday Shuffle, and you can just support us. Don't give up. Don't give up. The worst thing you can do is not do anything as a filmmaker. Personally, I wasn't planning on hopping on Bonds of Grief. Personally, I wasn't planning to come back to filmmaking. I wasn't going in my head like, you know what? It's about time to get back to filmmaking. I just started missing my equipment. I just started missing the things that made me a filmmaker, my curiosity. I would miss just even taking a camera and just going out to the park and take a picture of a squirrel or of a tree or of random people. I started missing little things like that. And eventually I ended up back into filmmaking. And then that's when I realized that I was meant to do this. I was chosen by the filmmaking game, if you will, to do films. And yes, so I hope you had a great 2024. This is just my recap, and all I can tell you is just don't give up. Just work, work, work. The harder you work, the luckier you get. That's what they say, right? Well, it's true. The more you work, the luckier you get, the more exposure you get, and so forth. And also, Zay started this group called Virtual Stage, which, if you are in the Philadelphia area or New York area or the tri-state area and you want to join, you can look up that group on Instagram, Virtual Stage. You can reach out to him. He'll explain what the rules are. It's basically a community of filmmakers and actors to come together and support one another. And I'm going to make a video about that also, how it's important to make a to make a community to support each other, because we know that filmmaking is not something that most of our family is involved in. So they look at filmmaking as a bit strange. At least I know in my culture it is. But don't give up. If 2024 was a challenging year for you, maybe 2025 is the breakthrough. But you would never know that if you just do nothing, if you don't go out there, if you don't get out your comfort zone. You will never discover and find out what's possible for you. So, as we leave this 2024 behind, what are your goals for 2025? If you're a filmmaker, if you're an actor, if you are a writer, what are you planning to do this year? Because filmmaking takes time. If you want to do something good, of course. What are your goals? What are you trying to accomplish? Think about it. And get out there and do something great this year. Something that you can look back and say, thank God I did this. Because I can personally say, thank God that I came back to filmmaking, because not only was I able to work on 3 projects, which were a success from an indie standpoint, but I also got to meet wonderful new people. And that's the beauty that I love about filmmaking, is you always meet new people. You always network. And sometimes you might make a friend or two. You just never know. So, thank you for watching. Hit that like and subscribe button so you can support this channel. And I will see you in 2025. All right. Stay strong. Keep doing your thing.